Welcome to the More Than a Collector podcast. I'm your host, Matt Galvin of StraightRaceCards. This podcast is all about highlighting collectors' stories, where our aim is to go beyond the cards and understand the purpose and heart behind every collector. I hope you can join in on this journey as we run the straight race of life together, recognizing that each collector has their own incredible story worth sharing. I hope this podcast encourages, inspires you, and reminds you that everyone is more than a collector. Hey guys, Matt StraightRaceCards here. Welcome back to the More Than a Collector podcast. So glad you're tuning in because today I am very excited about this podcast guest. We just share so many things in common. I have just really loved the way he is really passionate about baseball history and baseball players and collecting and so many great things. And we share a joy for running together. And there's so much that is to be excited about this guy. So I'm going to have him on here. Gordon, great to see you, brother.
Hey, Matt. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so fun to connect in person. You know, I've watched you on things, but to actually talk to you and put a face to your name and get to hear your voice is a privilege. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. And you were high on my list. I know we tried to hook up. You came down to Atlanta, and unfortunately, I was at a card show in Memphis, or Nashville that day. But hope to meet you again in person sometime.
Yeah, we'll certainly make some more trips out on the East Coast, and we'll make it happen. And obviously, if you ever come to Texas, I'll have to buy you some good Texas barbecue and some Texas beer or something, and we'll make a day out of it. It'll be great.
Okay.
Well, Gordon, again, so much to talk about. I'm so excited just to hear from you, but I'd love to hear kind of just to kick things off. Like, man, tell us your kind of card collecting background, your story, how you got into all this, like what transpired as you went into collecting. And now, obviously, I'd love to hear about Athletes Archives and what you're doing now with baseball history. Kind of, can you walk us through your journey as a collector and now a big time content producer as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I think a lot of us, I just have that collecting gene in me, and I've been able to kind of keep it under wraps to some degree. When I was a kid, I told Greg Miller this one time in a comment, but when I was a kid, I used to collect acorns, believe it or not. So I had boxes and boxes of acorns. Why acorns? I mean, I had no money, and we had an oak tree in our yard, and so I had them sorted based on the ones that had the caps and the ones that didn't have the caps, and the green ones and the brown ones. And, it's just, that was the start of it. And then I started collecting pennies, wheat pennies, with my grandfather back in the day. And then around 1979 is when I remember buying my first packs. I would have been 8 years old, and I was cutting grass at that age. I cut this field behind our house, and I cut my aunt's lawn, and every once in a while, one of my dad's sisters would pay me to wash their car, and so I used that money to buy baseball cards. And not to go off on too much of a tangent, but I've said this before. I think that Topps, the current market, they're doing a disservice to kids because packs are so expensive now.
Oh yeah.
I think they should have. Ideally, I think there should always be like a low price, low cost base card that kids can buy, without getting into any of this pulling 101 and refractors and things like that. Just something that kids can collect. Because if that wasn't available to me, I never would have got into the hobby. And so I was buying cards and collecting with my next door neighbor before I even really watched much baseball. The earliest baseball I remember seeing was the 79 World Series with the Pirates. And my dad was watching it in his bedroom on a small black and white TV. And I remember watching that with him. And, back then, I grew up in the Detroit area. So we had two Hall of Famers were our TV guys. We had Kaline and George Kell.
My
And
guy. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, they were awesome, man. What a great combo. And Ernie Harwell on the radio. I mean, it was just like an unbelievable media team. But
Yeah, you hit the jackpot there for sure.
yeah, and so I got into watching the Tigers and collecting the cards. And my next door neighbor, the dad, was into collecting, and I remember he would take us to shows, and he was into what I considered like old timey stuff, which I remember the 55 Bowman specifically because of that old TV design, which I hated. I still am not sure that I like it, but
It's like a fine wine. There's an acquired taste to it.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, but he was a vintage guy back then. And we were buying junk wax, and in my mind, if it wasn't new, a new wax pack, then it was just old, and who cared about it? But we went crazy with the wax packs, and I remember being able to buy a box of cards for like $8, and so
It's amazing.
I seem to remember I was getting like $2 a week, and so for a month I could buy a box. And man, there's nothing like opening a whole box of wax packs and chewing all that gum. But so I got into that, and by the time I got into college, I had done a couple shows with a guy that I lived with in college, and that was around the time that
As
Upper Deck.
as a dealer or
Yeah.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was around, Upper Deck had come out. And I remember specifically one conversation I had with a guy because I had a bunch of Chipper Jones cards, and he was like, "Who the hell is Chipper Jones?" And but funny how that one played out. But
Yeah.
I graduated
Good
from Michigan
prospecting.
State. Yeah. I graduated from Michigan State and moved to Virginia. I got married like the year after I graduated. And this was 94 now. And so I had a job, a wife. I started going to grad school as well. And then the strike happened. And I was so mad at baseball when they didn't have a World Series there in 94. And I went out of my way to ignore the game for about 10 years.
Wow.
And yeah. And really what brought me back to it, in collecting too, by the way. And in the meantime, stop me if I'm rambling. Okay.
No, this is good. Keep it rolling.
So in the meantime, I had a daughter in the year 2000, and my son was born in 2003. And around that time, I had always been into cars. I grew up in the Detroit area, so cars was always part of our culture. And I had a 67 Camaro, and I sold every card that I had in one lot to help pay for an engine for the Camaro. And
Wow.
yeah, and I feel like I was lucky to get what I got. It was mostly junk wax. So
Yeah, you probably were the winner of that deal
Yeah.
at that point in time.
There's some stuff that I wish I had back. In the condition, none of the condition was great because back in the day, what you would see as a PSA 4, we would call mint. I mean, I can't visually. I mean, I look at some of these cards that I have that are PSA 4s and 5s. I'm like, gosh, they look perfect to me.
I still feel that way. Yeah, to me, that like sweet spot of especially like golden age stuff. I feel like a 4 and 5 is for me like that really great copy of a card. Like, there's no need for me to buy anything nicer.
Man, if I got to pull out a loop to see the flaws, then who cares?
Yeah, that's when you bought the right card or right copy, is when you're having a really hard time figuring out where the card went wrong.
Yeah, so I had basically dumped everything, and my son eventually, when he was 4, signed up for T-ball, and I kind of got roped into being a coach, and I had no interest in being that guy. I had no interest in being a coach. It may be hard to believe since I'm on YouTube, but I consider myself a bit of an introvert, and I did not want to be up in front of the parents talking and, doing all that. But Um, I don't know if you've found this yourself, Matt, with the young kids that you have, but there are very few dads who engage in things like that, and so they're always looking for coaches. And man, I had no idea what Pandora's box I was opening, because I ended up being a coach for every team my son and daughter were ever on from age 4 till my son was 13. I coached softball, I coached rec basketball, I coached baseball, I coached flag football, everything. And not because I thought I was, the second coming of Billy Martin, or insert your favorite manager here, but um, I just felt like I was level-headed. I knew I wasn't going to yell at any kids. I wasn't going to do anything wrong, um, and the benefit is I got to spend all those hours with my kids. So win-win.
Man, that is precious. I know it's funny you mentioned about the being the de facto coach. I feel the same way. I've gotten to coach my kids already in, pre-K and kinder soccer and baseball and other sports. And I, for me, a large part of my story is just sports having a huge role and impact on my life. And so I've always wanted to give back in that capacity as a coach. And so I was just overjoyed to be a coach. But it is funny though, because now they're like, oh, Matt's like, sign Matt up again as the coach. And now as we've had, more kids, and it's like, oh man, like it's really adding up where we've got back-to-back coaching nights and multiple games, and it's only going to get worse. But I do consider it a joy and a privilege. I don't think that I am probably ever going to be the football coach, considering that I only infamously only played one day of football when the coach told me that I'd be the only kid in 40 years to wear a extra small size football helmet, and then I should run cross country instead. But I will try to coach the other sports if I can. So,
well, you're in Texas, so football is serious business.
it is, yeah. I was the only. It was a little dramatic, but I was the only kid in my class growing up that didn't play football. Literally every single boy, for those like middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years, played football, and I was the only one. And parents would come up to me. Literally, this is no joke. They'd come up to me and be like, "What is wrong with you? Like, why aren't you playing football?" I'm like, "Hey, there's other thing. There's more to life than football." But to some people, that's that's not. You have to be in on football. So.
Well, we wouldn't let our son play football. He played flag, but we can go off on a tangent on that. But I don't regret it at all. And my son is built similar to you. He's a tall, thin guy, and he has found running to be his forte as well. So, not quite to your level, obviously, having run Division I. But just to circle back, so when he got into baseball, we started watching again, and at this point now, I'm in Atlanta, and I kind of missed the really good Braves teams of the latter half of the 90s because I was so angry with the strike. But even so, I got to see some pretty good baseball. And then, the way that the TV stuff works with MLB, it's pretty much the only thing I was watching was Braves. And kind of lost touch with my Tigers that I had a passion for growing up. And just kind of fully adopted the local team, and then got back into cards. I didn't get back into cards until, unfortunately, like so many other people, after COVID. So I missed the good one. I missed the cheaper version of vintage baseball cards. But your original question was about why I started YouTube and things related to baseball history.
Just
And
the
I'd be curious
journey of
to.
how you got into collecting to content creation to your.
Mhm.
I think others would be really excited to hear about just your passion project on kind of what you're doing with baseball history and just highlighting some really amazing stories.
Well, I think like a lot of us, I had listened, and just so other people know, I am a runner. Matt was a Division I runner at Baylor, and so I was training for a marathon, and I was listening to podcasts, and I think I listened to every single Mike Moynihan podcast, going back as far as I could get him on Spotify. And that kind of really lit a fire under me for wanting to maybe produce something myself. Not that I think Mike was doing anything, that there was anything missing from what he was doing. But that being said, I don't have an unlimited budget, so like buying cards and showing them continuously wasn't going to be a path for me. But what I did have a passion for was reading. I read a lot, and not all baseball books, although I have a ton of baseball books. I like reading fantasy and sci-fi and things like that. But I had read a number of biographies that really touched me personally, um, including the Thurman Munson book by Marty Appel, and I think it was Marty, and the Mark Fidrich book. And those were the ones that really got me started. I'm like, yeah, Fidrich is a story that needs to be told. And so I decided to kind of focus and limit my channel to stories of non-Hall of Famers specifically, because I could find 20 videos on Hank Aaron in a heartbeat. And I love Hank Aaron. And his book, I Had a Hammer, was a great read. But I'm not gonna share anything new there. So I wanted to focus on some of these guys who have interesting stories or things that we can learn from that are not Hall of Famers. And Sammy Thunder was one of the first guys. I'm sure he does not remember this because it was like 3 years ago. I subjected him to my very first recording, and it was over an hour. And the poor dude, I don't know if he listened to the whole thing or not, but he gave me some constructive feedback, and it helped. And I reworked it, and I don't know what that first video ended up being, but it was long. And my stuff is not short. I'm editing a video right now that I recorded with Jay on Boog Powell, and I think I got it down to like 40 something minutes. I'm like, I don't want to cut anything out of it. So, if that's too long for people, it's too long. In the end, I talked to Drew from Clean Cheap Shots about this a lot.
One of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about the philosophically, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this on YouTube? Are you doing it for subscribers and views? And I said, I have to think about that. I'm like, no, like, I'm not chasing fake internet points or any kind of fame. I'm an old man. Like, what do I care about fame? And, and let's face it, man, none of us are getting paid for this. Well, maybe somebody, but shoot, not us, not
us. Yeah.
So ultimately, what am I trying to do? I want to create a catalog of stories that I think are worth telling, and that's ultimately it. If people don't want to watch it, if it's too long, it's too long. And I started at one point, Matt, trying to experiment with shorts just to see if I would get more kind of interaction that way. And you do get a ton of views doing shorts, but ultimately, that's not really what I want to do. I don't want to do a 2-minute video on a guy. I can't express somebody's whole story in 2 minutes. So I think that I've babbled on quite a bit, but that's essentially where I'm at. And collecting wise, I, believe it or not, dude, I've got a Zion case, and my promise to myself is that I will not grow out of this Zion case. So it's pretty full. I don't know how many cards I've got, but I've got the complete Hank Aaron run. I've got
Awesome.
I've got a lot of. I think I'm missing 2 or 3 cards from Jackie Robinson's run. I've got the Al Kaline run, and then I've got a smattering of other cards that are important to me for various reasons. A lot of them are guys that I covered on YouTube, which is nice because they're cheap, because they're not Hall of Famers. But
it's some of the best, when you can find something that connects to you, where you, hear their story and it resonates with you, and you're like, man, I need to go find a card, especially since you're not working with Hall of Famers. Man, that's a gold mine of, I feel like, where collecting hits the sweet spot, where you can find something that's meaningful to you, that doesn't break the bank as well too. I mean, there's so many great stories and cards and players that I think that is where collecting takes a turn for the better, because we're not just chasing Hall of Fame rookies. We're chasing men who had real lives and real stories that you can relate to, for better or worse. Are there any, when you think about those stories, or stories either you've done or just in general of these men, are there any that you could mention that have stood out to you in a quick? I'm not going to tell you to do a short here, but another sense of the word, I am. I'd love to hear a couple of those that have really kind of touched you.
Yeah, well, you may want to have to edit some of this because I could go on forever, but I've got a couple here that are important to me. One is this is Augie Donatelli from the aforementioned. From the aforementioned god awful 55
so
Bowman
you
set.
do have a 55 Bowman.
I've got a couple. So
That's
Augie
awesome.
is an umpire, and actually my friend Wade sent me this for Christmas. This is a Type 1 photo, I believe. I don't know how to tell photos apart. This is the back of it, but this is the Braves' first African American player, Sam Jethro, sliding into third, like 2 weeks into his career, and that's Augie Donatelli is the umpire right here. So it kind of crosses two big ones for me. So why Augie Donatelli? Well, Augie Donatelli was a B-17 tail gunner in World War II, and his bomber was shot down, and he was captured by the Germans and held in Stalag Luft 7. I might have the number wrong, but he was held as a POW for, I don't know offhand how long. But his so he was injured, and while I did a video on this on the baseball was played in POW camps in World War II, and Augie was injured, so he couldn't play, and so they enlisted him to play, or to be the umpire, and that's how he got his start umpiring, and that became his career after baseball. And then along the similar lines, where is it? Oh, here it is. Hold on. Sorry.
And we'll link the both of these stories as well for folks that want to go back and listen to these great episodes as well.
Well, the same episode, the same episode has this guy. He's a catcher, Mickey Grasso, and he was also held by the Germans in World War II. And I can't remember what he did in the military, but have you seen the Apple TV show Masters of the Air?
I haven't, no.
Okay. Well, it's a story based on B-17, a B-17 that was shot down, and they were held prisoner by the Germans. And Mickey Grasso was how about, sorry, Matt, sorry to bounce around. Have you seen the movie The Great Escape?
I have, yeah, that's a classic.
Okay. Yeah, so Mickey Grasso was at that camp where The Great Escape took place, and he escaped. Kidding. He escaped and made his way. I can't remember the name of the river, but he made his way to a river and where they found an old boat, and they rowed the boat across the water to the Allies and escaped camp.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy story, man. You know, I'm fascinated by so many what these guys endured who fought in World War II and, you know, gave up 3 years of their career, and, you know, the guys that survived it. And, you know, there's all kinds of stories from and, you know, Warren Spahn on down. Ted Williams, another great one, obviously. But yeah, those are great. And then Matt, stop me when you need to.
No, this is great.
I'm going to show you a couple more. You know, I'm sure you've seen that card, the Mo Berg card.
I was literally just texting with our pal Jay, Average Vintage Collector, about this exact same card, because it may or may not be on his want list for Strongsville.
Okay. Well, it's a great card. I mean, he's got a play ball card, but not to offend anybody, I don't like the black and white cards, so I just didn't want it.
I'm with you. I prefer the colorized play ball and Gaudis as well.
Yeah, the Gaudi, I just love the artwork on the Gaudi. So Mo was he has a super interesting story, and I'm not going to retell the whole thing, but he essentially served in the predecessor to the CIA, known as the OSS, and he was tasked at one point with actually killing Werner von Heisenberg, if he determined that the Germans had the bomb, which they didn't. Incredible story, though. Amazing guy. Not a good baseball player, but who cares?
That's right.
I'll just share one more. I don't want to keep going, but this is Ray Caldwell. This is a beautiful Crackerjack card.
Oh man,
this one was hard for me to find. I traded a 59 mantle plus some cash for this one.
I'd say it was worth it based on that color and image alone. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It does have I can see a little bit of Crackerjack staining. So, the 1915 Crackerjacks, they came in the box, but you could also send away for them. So you'll find some 1915 Crackerjacks that are really clean and really bright. All the 1914s only came in a box of Crackerjacks. But Caldwell, in his debut for the Indians late in his career, was 8 2/3 through a complete game when he was struck by lightning on the mound. And blew his cleats off. And Ray Chapman was playing short at the time and said he could feel the electricity, like his hair was standing on end. And just like you would expect in old-timey baseball, the dude got up and finished the game. So
unbelievable.
It's just great. It's a crazy story, man. It's only, that stuff only happens in 1915, 1990, or that was 1919, I think. And then I've got one more card that hopefully you and I are going to talk about at some point.
Wow, I love it.
My Jesse Owens, and he's cheap, dude.
Which set was that from? Is that
this is Ogden Cigarettes, 1936.
Okay. That's what the color on that Ogden's is. Show that again.
Yeah, and I know I'm getting glare.
It's beautiful. That's okay. Yeah, you can still tell though. Just there's so much happening there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, these are great cards, and you and I hope we're going to eventually get around to doing a video on Jesse. He will be my first video on a non-baseball player. But man, if there's ever a hero, that guy's it.
Worthy of every accolade on the planet. He's amazing man and incredible athlete as well. Incredible, probably cuts himself too short there. Yeah,
agreed. So tell me, I don't know how much of this you want to talk about you, but I never really talked to you about, and you and I have been texting, and we've talked on the phone before, but I don't really know what got you started, because let's be honest, man, it takes some guts to put your face on camera out there. I had some trepidation over it because I didn't want people to comment and tell me how old I was and how gray my hair was and all that. But yeah,
there you go. No one comment on Gordon's gray beard.
I did have one guy early on to tell me that I was boring, and I reminded him of Ben Stein. Do you remember? Ben Stein? Mm-hmm. Remember him from Ferris Bueller? Yeah, I was like, okay. And so I've had a troll or two along the way, but so it takes some courage, man. So what was your motivation to get out there?
Yeah. So, very briefly, my story, grew up loving cards, loving all things sports. My dream was to be a left-handed pitcher. It's a funny story, more than you need to know, but when I was growing up, I was ambidextrous, and we might have been texting about that a little bit, but I got to pick what hand I wanted to use. And really my dad, since he grew up in a huge baseball family, said, Matt, you got to be left-handed so you can be a left-handed pitcher. And so while my, my pitching didn't work out, I could throw strikes, but I couldn't throw very fast, and I could only hit the ball to third base. And the best thing I could do was run out the throw. I couldn't hit the ball past the infield though. So I wasn't a great ball player, but there's something in me that instilled this love for baseball. And so our family growing up, we went to a lot of Rangers games, but I feel like we had the Rangers on in the background just for a lot of evenings. And it wasn't like that was the focal point of our time together, but I just remember that being kind of an anchor aspect that I attributed to family time, to
Yeah.
having like the Rangers on in the background. So that to me, baseball has always been this like deep love, even though I was terrible at the game. And so, I grew out of collecting as a kid, kind of, as life happens, and I was more focused on my own sports than I was cards. And then as my running career ended after college, and we started having kids, and I realized that for me, finding 10 more minutes of my marathon time to qualify for the Olympic trials was not worth 365 days of being on. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, and found my old baseball cards right during COVID. This is 2020, and loved it, but didn't really know how to get involved with the hobby. And it was funny. I know you're involved with Reddit a lot, if I recall. And I remember looking at a Reddit thread of someone posting a T206 card, and I was just like, man, this is amazing. And love that. And then in that led me to Net 54 and all kinds of different places. And so, long story short, I was collecting, but what I recognized is I really didn't want to have anything to do with social media. I would call myself an ambivert. I love people, but I also get recharged at home and kind of I love reading and doing other things. Like you mentioned, running is a very introverted kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I got on Instagram and had this amazing conversation with a guy from Canada, of all places, and just got to encourage him in a lot of different ways. And so it really struck me. And I thought, man, if I could encourage this one guy in collecting, like, man, what a great opportunity to use a platform like YouTube that I'd already kind of been watching and lurking on the side to encourage other people in their collecting journey, and just be a force of positivity to others. And so that, to me, that one conversation with my friend Mike in Canada was the impetus towards like, man, I want to use this platform of YouTube just to encourage others. And this whole podcast, I know the hope and the goal is to get to hear other people's stories and encourage them along the way. And so, yes, why am I on YouTube? That's, that's kind of the heartbeat behind it. I think that's blossomed into so many other things. My collecting wings have expanded from baseball to, I didn't even know a track and field card existed. And now it's like this whole, I'd probably say that's more of my passion project than baseball, is vintage track and field cards. And then the other fun piece is getting to know people, like really get to know people personally, folks like yourself, or, guys from all over the country. And even over Christmas, I got to meet with, there's an amazing collector, if you know who the Drew Vintage Legacy is. And I drove an hour, we both drove an hour to meet each other for breakfast. And it was funny because my family, my in-laws were like, so hold on, let's think about this. You're driving. First of all, I left at 4:50 in the morning so I could meet him at 6 so that I didn't interrupt our family time. You're welcome, Catherine. Hope you're listening to that. But they're like, you're waking up at 5 a.m. to drive an hour to meet someone that you've never actually met before, that you just talk about baseball cards with. Yes, I am. And we just had the best conversation. And there's just a lot of like life and joy that can be found in these relationships. And it's really just made my collecting journey just so much more meaningful. And it's like, man, flying to Ohio later this year to go to a show with all kinds of other people. And there's just so much joy that can be had there in the relationships and hobby community. So anyways, probably more than you need to know, but that's a lot of the heartbeat of why I collect, why I'm trying to do what I'm doing here with, the YouTube channel and the podcast. It's really, I love sharing my own journey, but my goal is, less of me and more of others. And that sounds weird because YouTube can be a very like narcissistic, oh, look what I have. But my hope is to, I do want to show my collection and appreciate with others, but I really want to make other people's story and the journey more of the focus rather than myself.
Yeah, so I was taking a couple notes there while you were writing because I wanted to comment on a couple things. The first of all, the social media and force of positivity. Um, I deleted Twitter a couple of years ago. I don't know, and man, my life is so much better without it. It was just such a toxic environment, and
Hmm.
Reddit can be that way too. If you stray outside of a certain circle. So yes, I am heavily involved in Reddit, the baseball cards underscore vintage subreddit. I'm a
Which is great,
moderator
by the way.
there.
I've really enjoyed. That's been
Yeah,
really meaningful to me over the years.
I actually started that 3 years ago because I was in the baseball cards subreddit and I was so tired of seeing Julio Rodriguez cards over and over and
Yes,
Wander Franco. I'm like,
I was
my
about to say
gosh,
Wander Franco. Yeah, sure
yeah.
enough.
How many Wander Franco cards can I see? And
And then people
so
complaining about Wander Franco down the road.
So yes, I am on Reddit, but Reddit can be very toxic too. So anybody who's going to check that out, I've been on it for 10 years now, and now I don't know if this is on tape or before when you and I were talking. My kids are 25 and 22, and when I talk about Reddit, I tell them like you need to like be careful what you're looking out on there because it's the Wild West.
Yeah, there's
There's
definitely some
everything's out there.
evil stuff out there, and there's good stuff out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And it's a lot like Twitter. Forget it. I'm not gonna waste my time. You know, dude, I'm too old. Like, I don't need negativity in my life. At this point, like, if it doesn't bring me any enrichment or any kind of nourishment, then I don't want to partake. So, um, yeah, being a force of positivity that's a great goal, man. And it's funny, you t- you talk about driving out to meet Jay. I'll share a quick story with you. I have an old pickup truck. So this truck was my wife's grandfather's truck, and her grandfather, they had 360 acres in Virginia, Southern Virginia. It was a tobacco farm, and my mother-in-law grew up on that farm, and so my wife's grandfather bought this truck brand new and then died 2 years later, and it had stayed a farm truck. And so it's a 75 Dodge D100. It's got 21,000 original miles on it. And I got it last year. So I got it up and running and I've been driving it around town. And so I'm at Home Depot loading mulch in the back of the truck. And when I drive it, usually I get guys a lot like me, old guys, who want to talk about it. And so this
It's
guy's
awesome.
talking to me. Yeah. So this guy's talking to me about the truck. All right. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more. So I am a computer programmer. I've been a programmer now since, forever. I'm an old man. And I've been working from home since year 2000. So 25 years, 26 years.
You're a
And
trailblazer.
dude, it was tough in the beginning. Like, it is very socially isolating, and it can be tough. It can be very difficult. And so, anyways, I say that because I was at Home Depot loading up my truck, and this guy comes up and starts talking to me about the truck, and we're out there like 20 minutes just talking about life now, not about the truck.
Yeah.
And I say, hey, you want to go get some coffee? And I tell my kids this, and my daughter was like, "What? You're weird." And I'm like, his name is Matt as well.
Sounds like
And
a
this was
good
like,
guy. Good guy.
yeah, of course. So this was 4 months ago, and I met that guy like every few weeks. Like, we meet for coffee, and he's a little bit older than me. He's retired. He's his hobby is cabinet making, which I know absolutely nothing about. But it's just I get some soul nourishment from just hanging out with that guy and talking to him. And that's good. Relationships are important, like you said. And that's one of the things that I do like about this YouTube community. I don't know that other YouTubers like this baseball card kind of thing. And I don't know that I really ever really belong to the quote unquote, the in group, because I'm not really showing cards that often on my channel. But I've been able to get to know guys like Drew and Hugo, Signs of the Pastime, and Mike, Sports History Collector, and Rob and Jay, and you now, and it's been great, man. It's really been great, and I haven't met any of these guys. I haven't met any of you guys in person, and I'm debating about going up to Strongsville. It's kind of a tough call for me because I'd rather spend that money to go skiing, but we'll
Fair
see.
enough.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. I wish it were, not Ohio. I thought it was something else, but man, Ohio, it's like I grew up in Detroit. Ohio stinks.
I'm just waiting for I'm waiting for the announcement. I was really hoping that one day they'll have the national in Atlanta, because they've kind of
They are.
thrown that out there. So my guess is in the next like 10 years, hopefully there'll be a national in Atlanta and we can get some more people down south. Actually the best man at my wedding is in Atlanta. So it's like, that's a easy, he's right in the heart of the city. So that's an easy, free place to stay, and just be fun to be a little bit more south than all these shows in the Northeast.
Yeah,
Which,
Chicago's great. I mean, I love that town. But yeah, I thought somebody told me that 2028 was supposed to be Atlanta, but I can't confirm that. My phone is being used as my camera, so
I remember, I know they did a vote, and again, I'm not like I'm zero in or influence or whatever. Like, I don't know, but I remember reading a thread that was talking about they took a vote. I want to say Atlanta was in the running between 3 different options, but then they voted like Detroit again or something like that.
well, actually, Detroit, I could do.
Someone they could comment. Someone's going to comment here and tell us what actually happened. But I do know, I was just excited to know that Atlanta was at least in the kind of the cycle for, my guess is that eventually one day a Southern show will break through. My theory is that the reason why it won't for a long time is because you have all these, grandfather dealers into the national, and they're all from the Northeast. So when they take their vote, all of the Northeast dealers are going to vote for, you guessed it, a show as Northeast as they can get. So that's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, if my local shows are any indication, yeah, none of those guys are down here. There's a lot of modern and Pokemon is what I say. Pokemon,
Yeah.
but Pokemon.
Pokemon,
but, yeah, if it's in Detroit, I could definitely do it because I've got family up there. I can kind of make some visits as well while I'm up there. I would be up for that. But yeah, so other than YouTube, you mentioned Net54. I've kind of lurk on there a little bit. I find that interface, the web forum interface, a little kind of kludgy and difficult on a phone.
It's definitely archaic for sure.
Yeah. And it's definitely an older crowd, at least. Well, shoot. I mean, not that I'm a spring chicken, but I get the feeling that it's a bunch of older guys. Like, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. And the folks that I've gotten to meet, and a lot of them are in DFW, which is great. The guy that I had on the podcast last week, Rich Klein, we met through Net54, and he's like a seasoned hobby and industry guy. And I just think the world of him. And then the guy, Leon, who started Net54, he's in the Dallas area as well. So it's there's a good crew of folks that are in the Net54 stratosphere around the Dallas area. But
well, there's a huge knowledge base in that Net54 group, right? And guys that really know their stuff, and so there's definitely value there. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. It's just I don't think it really lends itself well to interacting with people.
100% agree.
But yeah, and I saw that you were involved in the Secret Santa giveaway thing. And, that's cool.
That's one. There's a couple ways where you can kind of draw out community in a way on that. I think the Secret Santa is one, and then I try to do I'll do like a March Madness bracket as well and give away cards to whoever wins. I know you love college hoops, and so
yeah, man, that's the best thing in sports is that tournament.
It's like, man, it's like Christmas to me. People say the World Series is, especially in this baseball era, and I do love the World Series loud and clear, but you just can't beat the magic of 64 teams. There is, true parity. You've got UMBC taking down Virginia, or Furman, all those little schools. Ironically, I almost went to Furman. But
yeah, you got a buddy who does something at Furman, right? You were telling me.
Yeah. One of my close buddies. I actually was deciding to sign between Furman and Baylor, and really want to go to Furman. But Baylor was just offered me everything that I could want and more, as far as like facilities and a spot to run. It was a Big 12 school, and it was 90 minutes from my home instead of a plane flight away.
Yeah, no brainer.
So anyways, but and ironically, my wife is from the same town as where Furman is, so it's just all full circle. But no, a buddy coaches there now. But March Madness is truly a really, really sweet thing. So it's fun to try. I always try to find ways to like merge things I love, and I'll kind of transition this conversation. I try to merge things I love with cards and like play that off each other. So like, if I'm like, how can I find a way to merge my love for March Madness with cards? Okay, I'm just going to do a March Madness bracket. If anyone wants to join, come on, I'll give away cards. And I feel the same way like with my love for running. It's like, how can I merge my love for running with cards? It's a big reason why I got into track and field cards, which is a really, really fun way to connect those. And, I know Gordon said some really kind words about, my running earlier, but I want to be loud and clear here. Gordon is playing himself down. He's no slouch. He is a seasoned marathoner. You've run way more half marathons and marathons than I have. So kudos to you, brother. How have you gotten to like, how is your love for running? Is it played in with your love for baseball or connected in any way?
Matt, kind of, I think what I was talking about earlier with being socially isolated, and being a computer programmer is, I don't know if I said what I did, but I've been writing code forever. And when you write code as a 9 to 5, you can literally never leave your house. And I'll just be flat out honest. I was suffering from depression, and I needed to get outside, and that is underrated. I can't state that enough. The importance of being outside and seeing the sun and physical exertion. I mean, these are just critical to us as humans. And so I started running, man, and thank God that I did, because it's been all the difference for me mentally. And but I'm a collector and kind of an that kind of addictive kind of thing, and I can't run halfway, so I run full.
Yeah.
You get it. I don't do anything halfway. So so it just turned into miles after miles after miles, and then I started getting into races. I've run something close to 30 marathons, maybe 30 marathons. I've run Boston 6 times.
That's incredible.
I missed out on my fast years. I never would have. Listen, let me be honest. No way in heck that I would be approaching the 14 or 15 minute 5K that you clocked. But, as you get older, I think you lose that speed, but you do gain some endurance with the slow twitch muscle fiber and cardio ability. So, I don't know. It's been great for me, and it's been a savior for me, to be honest. You talk about basketball. There are many downsides to working from home, but one of the best upsides is Thursday, round 1, NCAA March Madness, being at home and being in front of the TV where you can watch every game. Gosh, man. I know I'm a lot older than you. It used to be you had to watch whatever game CBS decided to show you. Now you can watch any game. And
my wife makes fun of me every year because I pull out every bloody device that I can find in my house so that I can put every single game on all at once. She's like, isn't that a stimulation overload? And I'm like, yes. And I love it. I'll never forget. It was 2013. So nearing the end of my college years, and Baylor always had some pretty good teams in college. We made a couple, nothing like crazy, but there was a year we made the Elite Eight and we went to the Sweet 16 once. So we had some pretty darn good teams. And I remember we had a first round game against Yale that year. And I had this really hard-nosed professor who told us, Baylor's going to win. You need to go to class and just deal with it. We're not watching the game. And I was trying to watch it from my phone from the corner. And they're he's like, put it up. And then sure enough, we lost. And I still think about that to this day. I'm like, that professor took the joy out of March Madness for me. But that's okay. I'll forgive you because Baylor came back and we won in 2021. So it was a weird year with COVID, but it made it all worth it after that. But even if even if Baylor doesn't win, it's still awesome. I can almost guarantee you that Baylor's not going to make the tournament this year after watching the first three of their Big 12 games. But I'm going to be on the edge of my seat on that Thursday of March Madness.
Yeah, even when your team's not great, it's must-see TV Thursday and Friday, that first round. And man, I'm maybe too passionate sometimes when it comes to sports, and there have been a couple times where I've been moved to tears, and one of them was a couple times at Michigan State basketball. One when we lost in 90, I think it was 90 or 91 to Georgia Tech to go to the Final Four. Kenny Anderson hit a shot that was, if they had reviews now, he clearly, I'll die on this one. He took a shot after the clock expired. They counted it. Georgia Tech moves on. Sports are great, man, because there are some of those games again, Michigan State, if you're familiar with the trouble with the snap game against Michigan, when the Michigan had the game won and Harbaugh's first, it was going to be his first victory against Michigan State, and the punter struggled with the ball and he coughed it up.
I remember that as clear as day because I was watching it live.
Just awesome, man. Sports can be so awesome, and baseball too. And somebody had asked on Reddit recently if you could have a ticket stub to any game, what would it be? And there were some good ones, right? I would love to have Lou Gehrig's final game and things like that. But one of the ones that I mentioned was the 2018 NLDS. The Braves were playing the Dodgers, and my son and I were at the game. We were in left field, just above the quick reach sign. Walker Buehler was on the mound, and we had struggled. The Dodgers have kind of been a nemesis for the Braves, but we were out there in left field. We had just visited Ole Miss earlier in the day. Actually, that weekend we spent at Ole Miss. My son was going to look at schools, and so Walker Buehler was pitching to Sean Newcomb with men on first and second, and he walked Sean Newcomb to load the bases to bring up Ronald. And he threw 3 balls to Ronald. Then he threw a 4th ball that the umpire, it was way high. The umpire called it a strike, and Ronald was like, "Are you serious?" And my son and I looked at each other, and it's just an ungodly ability when everybody's thinking, what if this guy hits a grand slam and he does it? The ability, the physical ability to be able to play at that level is just ridiculous. But Ronald hit a ball that landed just a few rows in front of us, and I just got goosebumps thinking about it. We didn't win the World Series, but I just remember that game. Man, it was so electric, and to be there, it was just such a special thing, and to share that with my son. And you and I have talked about kids and the importance of family, and man, I'll cherish that game forever.
Man, that's a really special one. I know there, you didn't ask me to answer the question, but I will, because it's such a great question. I think I had a similar memory growing. I had a close buddy who I was, for some reason, whatever day it was, I was asleep in the afternoon, and I woke up. I think this is junior year of high school for me, and I look up on my phone, and I've got literally 17 missed calls from my one of my best friends, and he's they were banging on the door wake up, I got a ticket to the ALCS. You're coming with us.
Oh.
And so we got the, like worst seats you could possibly get out in center field. And it was epic, but it was the Rangers at that point in my young baseball watching career of my Rangers. We've always been terrible. So just to be in the playoffs were amazing. But it was the game, not that you're a Rangers fan, but Francisco Cordero struck out, I think it was maybe an A-Rod. I forget who it was. I'm guessing it was A-Rod, for us to clinch the pennant and go to the World Series. And you would have thought like it was like some kind of ethereal experience because people were like crying around us. Everyone was just hugging each other around us. But really special moment I'll never forget. But the other one, if I had a ticket stub anywhere, and not a current day and age, but if I could transport to, you could probably guess where I'm going with this, but if I could transport to 1924, the Olympics, to watch Eric Liddell win his 400 meters in the stands in Paris, to me, I'd probably be weeping if I saw that race, just because of all the backstory and all of the amazing work that Eric Liddell went through. Plus, I'd love to see the 100 meters as well, to watch Harold Abrahams win, which is special too. But that'd be a really, really fun one. I love that question, though.
Where was the 24 Olympics?
So, cool factoid. So it was in Paris in 1924. And so when they had the Olympics in 2024, it was actually the 100-year anniversary of the games and the 100-year anniversary of Eric winning the 400 meters. So it was a really special Olympics for me to watch, just because of thinking of that memory of Eric. So
I love the Olympics. Don't you? I love them.
No, they're amazing. I get excited about practically every event except for whichever the one was where they had like a rap battle or dancing. That was a little bit too much for me. That not as much athletic abilities there. But I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat when they're doing rock climbing or whatever it is. I think it's all incredible. So especially track and field, though.
Dude, I'm just fascinated by people who can achieve something at that high of a level. And we don't, what would be cool is like in a track event. So for example, like, well, you are fast, so you wouldn't understand. But like my wife has taped me like finishing a race or something. I'm like, my gosh, I look like I'm crawling. Like I know I'm not crawling, but you look so slow. But in reality, it's because we're used to watching people run 400s and 800s or something, in the Olympics. But I would love to have lane 8 reserved for a random fan selected from the audience, and just put a dude out there. Have you ever seen Beat the Freeze? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. He's
love it,
beast.
Man. Yeah. So
These
they
awesome.
They pick a random guy who looks like he's somewhat athletic, and they have him race. I'm going over this for people who aren't familiar. This is the Braves. So they have a guy sponsored by Racetrack. He's called Beat the Freeze, and they run along the warning track from left field to right field, and the random fan that gets selected gets a head start, and it is hilarious. Sometimes they win, but most people aren't runners, and they. They underestimate lactic acid buildup, and they fade hard in the last half. But yeah, I would love to. I'm a huge Olympics fan, and the Winter Olympics are coming up here pretty soon in a couple of weeks, and I'm a big skier, and I love watching all the ski events, and even like figure skating that I have no skill in. I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the artistry and the amount of work that goes into it. I mean, for the longest time, those people didn't get paid. I know that line is blurred now. One more thing I wrote down, are you aware, are there any like NCAA cards? Like, I'm surprised that Topps doesn't do like NCAA football cards or NCAA basketball cards, because that's the kind of thing I would actually buy.
There are some. I know there's a great track and field collector. His name's Ed, and I got a mail randomly in the day, and he had sent me some like modern day track and field cards. I don't think there's a whole lot of them, but I just thought they're cool. I definitely know they have some basketball and some of the other like main football for sure. I think Bowman has a issue. It's like Bowman Chrome University or something like that. Again, that's a whole different sandbox that I don't really
depending on the cost.
but that is it is cool though. And I do love your idea of having the 8th lane reserved in the Olympics. You know, you can say however, whatever you want about my speed. I was did a video last weekend. I was pulled a Lasse Viren card, who's one of the great Finnish Olympians, one of the best of all time. Yeah. And, my best 10K, he still had me beat by 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I think you were.
And he ran in 72. I'm in 20, whatever, 20, 15, and I've got way better technology than he does, and so it'd be even more dramatic if he had the same equipment I did. So that to me is unbelievable. So
yeah, but don't downplay your accomplishments. It's something else to be at the elite level that you were at. To be even talking about Olympic trials is crazy. I certainly have a tremendous amount of respect for your talent and ability. And you and I were talking earlier about, the technology has improved and shoes have improved, but that'll always that's an ongoing thing. But that is the cool thing about track, though, right? Baseball, it's hard to compare eras, but track is kind of like you can look at somebody's time and swimming, the same thing, right? You're swimming the 50-meter freestyle and the same 50-meter freestyle they were swimming 100 years ago. So you can kind of look and compare.
That's why I love some of those old, pre-war track and field sets. On my wall over there, you can't see it from this shop, but I've got a complete set of the 1910 National Licorice set, which is my favorite set on the planet for track and field. And the story, they're basically all this Olympic set of track and swimming, mostly track. And I love looking at the backs of those cards because they've got, all these stats of these guys running, the mile and in the marathon. And it's like those guys in 1910, I think some of them were running, 2:30 for the marathon, which is crazy. And so
probably without water.
Exactly. Right? And
because they didn't even believe in water.
Their shoes are basically a glorified piece of leather that somehow is tied together. And
with cotton shirts.
Exactly. Yeah. The cotton shirts. And I'm filled, because you've been there, you've run 30. I've only run 1, and we know how difficult that race is. And so there's a lot of, my admiration for those guys is tenfold when I look at those cards, because I can just appreciate, it's until you, I think this is true in all of life. It's like until you've really run the miles and done the hard work yourself, you can't appreciate something. Yeah. And I think that can be true in collecting. When we see someone pick up a difficult card that we've been either looking for, or we've gotten, or if we see, there's all kinds of things in collecting that just give us a lot more appreciation. I know for you, I just see like the hard work. We talked about editing. I don't do a whole lot. Spoiler alert to anyone listening, but like I know Gordon, he like when he puts something together, he makes it there's this artistic like work of art. There's like this package that you put together that's really beautiful, and there's a story worth sharing. And I can appreciate that so much more now that I've put my face behind a camera, and it means a lot. And so when I watch one of your videos now, there's so much more appreciation for what you do. And then now knowing you more personally, I've got an even deeper appreciation. So it means a lot.
Yeah, a lot of effort goes into this, whether we're editing or not, and my editing stinks. I'm not being humble. I'm being truthful. I look at like what Terry's doing, and I can't remember the name of his channel, right? I mean,
TJ Mac Vintage. Yeah. A group of us were talking about his mastery.
Oh, he's
tonight
awesome
as well. Yeah.
And the Wisconsin voiceover is just adds to it for me. He legitimately sounds like a buddy of mine, Tim, who is also from Wisconsin. And right, Terry's from Wisconsin, right? I think he is.
I don't
Or
know.
Minnesota,
All I know
somewhere
is
up
that
there.
he's a Cowboys fan, so he's my guy.
Well, his editing is fantastic. Alex 53, Bowman
Yep.
is great. Hammer 44, if you've ever
Oh
seen his
man.
stuff.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, these
he's
guys know what they're doing. But I get so burned out of the editing part is the least favorite for me. I love the research part, and I will spend a lot of time reading and trying to find things, um, and I'm slow. I'll read books and things rather than um, YouTube. But that's the part I enjoy. So I'm never going to be one to quickly put out videos, um, but yeah, everybody's different, man. And I know a lot of guys. Dan Lynch from Dan's Vintage Piece, or what does he call this
finished
thing?
baseball PC.
Yeah, he's great, and
Oh yeah.
he does one take and publishes. But he's very good on his feet. He's very he's a lawyer, so I think he's kind of used to that. But
Yeah, that's like
um,
ingrained in his blood.
yeah, I mean, I'm a programmer. The fact that I can even make eye contact with anybody is nothing short of a miracle. So,
Well,
but yeah, everybody's different, and I enjoy it. There's a lot. Matt, before we go, I want to ask you something. I want to learn a little bit about you. So, other than the baseball card stuff, like, tell me like three things, if you've got three things, three other topics, excuse me, of something that you watch on YouTube. I want to learn a bit. Like, you're not just watching baseball content, right? You got other stuff.
that's a really good question. I think I'm trying to think of the main things besides kids TV content. No, a couple things that stick out. These guys are massive, but we've got a personal connection with them. There's a channel called Dude Perfect. They're like one of the three biggest channels on
Of
the
course.
planet. But I got to be in a Bible study with one of the
Really?
guys in the group, and just amazing. He's a really
Huh.
neat guy. And now, like, again, once it's like we were talking about earlier, it's like once you get to know someone and really like walk with them and do life. And so like
Yeah.
now we watch with my kids, we'll watch Dude Per together, and we'll cheer Kobe on because like we've gotten to hang with Kobe for several years now, and he's just an absolutely incredible guy. And so that would be one. I just have a fondness for anything like the outdoors.
Hmm.
And so I love getting to it's fun when my boys are at the age where we can show them like just great content and great things to be excited about. And so like we'll watch recently I've been watching like the Outdoor Boys Survivor stuff,
I knew you were going to
which
say
has
that.
been oh
I'm a
yeah,
big Luke fan.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just fun to experience
Hmm.
things like that with them. I mean, I think the other thing, I mean, for me, I just always encouraged by like great men of faith, and so there's all
Hmm.
kinds of different things like that that I love to. For me, I just have to continue to remind myself of things that are true because when I'm so jacked up in so many different ways. We could spend the next hour about the ways I'm screwed up. And so I just continually have to feed myself with like things that are right and things that are true. And so, I try to do that through YouTube, and even just like getting to watch, going back to I know you said not baseball, but as far as baseball, I just love watching things that remind me of like joy and hope and positivity, and that's who I want to be too. So like when I feed myself with that, it only adds to this cycle as well. How about you?
Well, I had written down a couple of things because I thought you might throw the question back at me. And the number one for me was Outdoor Boys, believe it or not. I mean, I just
Let's
love his
go.
channel.
Oh wow,
And
that's awesome.
I mean, he's got like 10 million subscribers. And, he stepped away. He kind of quote unquote retired briefly, and then he came back. So,
I know
um,
he's like, I think it was someone had cancer, so like a
oh,
buddy visited cancer, and then he now is like took over their YouTube channel and is
oh,
now producing content on the channel and all that money is going towards cancer for the cancer payments for this family. So it's really neat. So if you see that, some people are like, oh, you're ripping off Luke's stuff. It's actually, he's making all this to support this family. So it's really neat.
Wow. Yeah, he's fascinating. And I'm into hiking and stuff, but I wouldn't do the things that he does. So him and you and I had texted or we had a phone call maybe last week, and I was talking to you about Clayton Young. So Clayton Young is so he's an Olympic marathoner. He trained with Mance. He was a former BYU guy under Coach Ed Eyestone, and Clayton does a really good job of I'm sure it's not Clayton doing the editing. I'm sure there's a whole team behind it, but you want to, if you have any interest in running at all, and you're interested in seeing a good quality human being, Clayton puts out good content. They put out good content. And you'll see Connor Manson there too, and various other former BYU guys. And who's the Canadian runner what's his name? Linkletter? Yeah.
Oh, Roy Link. Yeah, Roy Linkletter. Yeah, he was an animal.
Yeah, because Ryan was coaching him at one point. I think Ryan coached him for the Olympics. But you'll see Rory on there. Yeah. So I watch Clayton, and then I'm into painting and art. So there's a guy known as the paint coach that I watch a lot of his stuff. But yeah, so that's about it.
Man, well, that's awesome. Again, yeah, it's fun to understand the whole picture, more to the picture, because there's so much more to us than just talking about baseball and talking about silly. We say silly, and they are meaningful, but pieces of cardboard, and there is so much more depth behind everyone. And this is why we do conversations like this, because I do want to get to know your heart and what you're passionate about, and just the things that get you excited. Any final words as we tie a bow to this one?
Well, final words for you personally: keep doing what you're doing. I am a Christian as well. We didn't touch on that at all. I was baptized in 2018, and I grew up in a household that we just didn't talk about God, and it was a lifelong path for me. But it takes courage to wear that on your sleeve. You do it far better than most, and it's good to see somebody out there who's leading by example, and I appreciate that. My advice, again, directly for you, is to cherish this time with your kids, man. Like I said, mine are 22 and 25, and man, that time goes by so fast. And we were talking before you hit the record button. There were days where, like, I would have loved to just been able to escape and have a night to myself. And I get it, like, it's tough when you're in the grind. But before we joined, I mean, it's almost 11 o'clock here. You were
putting your kids staying up late.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's no big deal. But I'm just saying, like, you were putting your kids down to bed, and I realized, like, that's a whole process. I had two, and it's like, we had a routine, man, and you do not mess with the routine. Like,
right.
It's like it's just not something you screw with. So, it's an important period in their lives, and they'll remember it. They'll remember the time you spent reading to them and tucking them in and bathing them, or whatever your routine is. But yeah, I miss that. I miss those days. So that's it. What advice do you have for me?
Man, I would, just encourage you to, continue to make the next effort and the next layer of connecting with people. I know you said you hadn't met folks, but man, I just tell you that the time that I've gotten to spend in person with folks, it's been so meaningful. So I don't know what that looks like. If there's, I can already tell you a few folks that I know that are in the Atlanta area that I'd love to connect. You might have an inkling of some folks that might say, we can talk offline, and I can already, John JW Stokout, great guy. There's several others though that I think it'd just be fun for you to continue to dig in deeper into some more meaningful hobby relationships outside of a video, which is great too. There's it's really fun, and we can get to know each other better from afar. But yeah, and obviously, selfishly, I'd love to throw the bug in you to head to Strongsville, but if that's what's keeping you in the way from a ski trip, then that's amazing too.
It may happen. It may happen. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not ruling it out yet.
Love it. Well, yeah, thanks again for being on, man. Just it's so great hearing your story and getting to just talk life and cards and all, history and all things. So thanks again.
You too, Matt. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
And for anyone that's watching, how can they connect with you, Gordon?
Well, I am pretty simple. It's the Athlete Archives, and I say the.athlete.archives@gmail.com, but Google strips the dots, so it's not really necessary. It just helps when I'm talking about it. You can email me. I'm obviously the Athlete Archives on YouTube. I have an Instagram page, but it's kind of dead in the water. I'm too lazy to keep it up to date, so don't bother. But yeah, email's best. But I'm always looking for guests too, man. I reach out to people all the time, and I find somebody who's like a collector of a guy, and I ask them, would you like to do a video? Would you come on camera? Like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. But if you are that guy that wants to be on camera and talk about somebody who's not a Hall of Famer, and you think they've got an interesting story, reach out, because I'd be up for it. So
love it. Well, thanks, Gordon, again, and anyone watching, please reach out to Gordon or myself. We'd love to connect. It's such a joy to get to do so, and I know you'll be encouraged. Take the leap to encourage someone and reach out. But in the meantime, everyone, keep running the straight race, and we'll catch you on the next podcast. Thanks again.